evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have a special show. We have Willie D McClung. Am I saying it right?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you. I was saying earlier, I was going through some music and stuff I was looking at my feed, and I came across an album from your old band, and people don't know it was Wildboyz. And a lot of people
Right.
was like, "What happened to him? What happened to him?" Like nobody knows. It's almost like a mystery. You guys came out, and I can tell you the first time I heard you guys, and we'll talk about this a little bit. Then Willie's doing a lot of new stuff. We're going to go to that in a minute. I was working in some company, like in a record warehouse as a college interning, and that CD came in. It was like the only CD covered by that label too that was like rock too. And someone goes, "Hey, long hair, you might like this group." I played it. I was like, "Oh wow!" Like every song was totally catchy, like the perfect pop songs. Like so clearly the strong pop background. And then like obviously it was grunge came in. Everybody got wiped out in one fell swoop. I think if you guys were signed a little earlier, maybe you guys would have a better chance. I think you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we might have had a chance.
Your songs are too good. I mean, obviously at that point everyone's copying each other, and it was like copy of a copy. And it was just so many. But eventually the
Yeah.
music would water through its own. You know.
Right. Right. Yeah, I remember specifically our record label was on Sunset Boulevard and it overlooked the Roxy Theater in
Yeah.
Hollywood. And I'll never forget, we were up like the 20th floor or something, and we were answering a lot of fan mail. And I looked
Yeah.
down on the marquee on the Roxy, and I'll never forget it. It burned. It's just burned in my memory now. I look down on the marquee and I see Nirvana, and I'm like, "Who's Nirvana? I've never heard of them before." Next thing I know, it was just everywhere. So it was definitely the movement that took the bands from Hollywood off the map.
Oh,
It
yeah.
clicked us off. But I think there for a while there was some nostalgia going on that people were looking for that stuff, and still to this day I get people reaching out to me for any demos or anything that's out there. There's still a lot of people that are
Yeah.
into the music, which is kind of cool. I like that. It's really a neat thing.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's hard. Sometimes an artist will do one thing and then they want to keep growing as an artist. And I think people have heard you, and this is my opinion, like there's a certain point in life when you're in your teens, in your early 20s, when you're responsible and your life's different for most people. And it's like the impression of your music is what kind of stays with them forever. Then you got someone like me who's a dork.
Right.
I just listen to music all through my entire life. But there's less of people that do that than just kind of like, oh, there's that band. So that's why a lot of artists, people are always like, that's their time. You know what I mean?
Right.
I do think it's a
Right.
better time. I do think the 70s and the 80s, into the early 90s were a better time just musically across the board.
I
But
agree. Agree.
I just think the songwriting, because I'm a songwriter guy. And that's what I think. And it really comes down to if you took back all the looks of the band, there were some great pop songs you guys wrote.
Anyway,
You know?
we definitely weren't breaking any new ground with our stuff. We were just trying to make hooky songs that you could listen to it once or twice and you knew the chorus.
Yeah.
So that's what we concentrated on. We never had an agenda to really sound like anybody, but I know a lot of our stuff kind of sounded like Great White, and there's a couple of songs that had a little Def Leppard in it, and
Yeah.
we definitely weren't breaking any ground, but nobody was until Nirvana came out, and of course somebody like Tool,
Right.
but and I'm big fans of that music. I mean, I love that music, but it definitely pushed us aside. But it got to the point to where it was getting really kind of saturated, and
Oh, yeah.
some of the best bands were still just copies. So I understand why it happened now at an older age. Of course, back then, I was on the road and Nirvana was following us back home as we were traveling across country, and it was just kind of weird. It was definitely a weird thing, but I get it now. I mean, I
Well,
understand it.
yeah.
Music's got to change. It's got to adapt.
it has if you really look at music, had like a 10-year cycle, like rock, classic rock, like with disco, like everything kind of just cycles through after a while. The metal years, kind of like the early '80s to the early '90s, like it kind of goes through, in wide swaths of the genre, not just like exactly what style of music. But then what happened was, I think a lot of bands were forced to change as a musician, and that's what is really interesting because some artists tried to go towards just being a copy of of that style. Some artists said, "Okay, I'm a
Right.
songwriter. I'm a songwriter, and I'm gonna, change my songwriting and make it current, but not try to copy." And I think that was more of a Janie
Right.
Lane thing. I think he tried to not copy it because their other albums weren't really copies, but they were trying to change. It didn't get met with the same amount of love as the Overwatch stuff. But I'm saying I felt like he was trying to do something different. You know, some copied,
Well,
some
I
didn't.
love Lane. I actually performed with him once
Yeah,
on the Strip, and loved Janie. You talk about a great song.
yeah,
Dog, that album is solid from start to finish.
yeah.
I love that album, and yeah, it was quite a turn from the album previous. But man, what a great songwriter! I mean, Janie Lane, just bless
I
his
agree.
heart, man. I mean, but
I agree. I agree. I
just
mean,
great. I mean, for my generation, probably one of the best songwriters out there.
good pop, but good pop sensibility though. I mean, it didn't really matter what kind of music he was doing. He could just take his
Yeah,
style and put it into anything. He could have
right.
been. If he was around nowadays, they could stick him in Nashville, and he'd be a good arena country rock pop songwriter. If you know what I'm saying, they allowed him to have that chance because that's just who he was. So I
Absolutely.
appreciated him doing the change of trying to say, I'm going to be me. And those last couple albums he did with them, I thought they were kind of interesting. I thought
Right.
he was trying.
Right.
It wasn't a copy. It was really an effort of just trying to evolve as a songwriter, which is different than copying. You know.
Right. Right.
Um, and then a lot of people just didn't know what to do. And a
Yeah.
lot of musicians kind of were like, what you know what I mean? Now what do I do? Some people gave up, got different
Right.
jobs, got things.
Right.
So what happened to you guys and to where you are now? That's the better part of the thing because you're jamming now.
Well, Wildboyz as a group, things, once Seattle started taking control, we kind of imploded a little bit. We tried to record a few songs, and there were some cool songs. One kind of sounded kind of like Queensryche, and one kind of sounded like Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
But ultimately, with everything going on, because I mean, we were back in our heyday, when we were on the Strip, we were kind of like the band after Warrant. We were the band that was selling out Gazaris and Roxy, and on a monthly basis, we were playing those pretty big time. It was us, Kick Tracy, and Wildside was real
yeah,
big at that point. But we just kind of imploded, and when we imploded, I kind of went back to my roots. In some of the Wildboy songs, you'll hear a little Southern type of soul going on, which I think was mainly from me, just because I was born and raised in Alabama. So, I grew up listening to, Skynyrd and Allman Brothers and those types of things. But I was definitely a product of the 80s. I was a huge Motley Crue fan, huge Rat fan. I loved that stuff as a kid. That was the stuff that I listened
right.
to, going to high school, you know.
Yeah,
So we just kind of imploded, and I kind of went back to my roots, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to write a couple of more country songs, and a couple of the guys helped me do it. And then after I did that, I kind of just laid low for a while. I decided to go to work, decided I had to get a job. So I started a business, and I got married and had a family. And now all that has come to fruition. So, the music was always there. And I just kind of thought, you know what? I think I'm going to get back into it, and I'm going to write some songs,
were you singing it all for fun,
and
like with bands at all in the in between, or did you just totally stop?
Yeah, I would play shows here and there around town doing covers,
Right.
not doing any original music,
No, but your voice,
but
though, I'm talking about working your voice as a muscle and that
oh
muscle
yeah.
memory. I mean, that doesn't go away.
Yeah, I
You have
play
a certain voice that's
I
high.
play I played I played I played gigs all over. I'm in Southern California, so I play gigs all over, doing
Right.
cover music, but not really identifying as Willie D, the
Right.
artist,
Yeah.
just kind of a guy in a band, just to have fun, to kind of, it just kind of fulfilled me a little bit to be able to get out and sing.
Yeah. What were you doing
And
for
then I
covers?
started,
Like Southern stuff? Southern rock covers?
I would do everything from Skinner to Zeppelin to, we were even doing Tool. We were doing Rage Against the Machine. We'd do Bad Company. We would do just the whole spectrum.
That's pretty
We
cool.
were doing kind of a real rock and roll show. Not getting really specific.
Yeah.
But just rock. So I did that for many years. And then decided, what, I think I'm going to take a shot at writing a few more songs. And one of the first songs that I recorded, I went to Nashville and recorded with a friend of mine that I went to high school with that's had a lot of success in Nashville. And he hooked me up with some musicians, and I wrote a song with one of the members of Wildboyz. And it was called Cry Baby Hollow, which is about a little spot in Alabama from where I'm from that is like, it's got this backstory of where an infant was lost on a bridge back in the old days, and the place is haunted, and you can hear the baby cry. So that kind of got the ball rolling, and I wrote that song with Matt Stevens from Wildboyz.
Yeah.
And as I was doing that, I hooked up with this buddy of mine that was helping me out, and he had all these songs that he had written with some major songwriters in Nashville. And he said, man, I'm going to send you a bunch of these songs, and I want you to listen to them and see if any of them talk to you. Well, a lot of them did. So we ended up recording those. So most of those songs that you might be listening to right now
Yep.
are actually written by some pretty big songwriters in Nashville. So I decided to try that route a little bit, but I still got some of my own music. I still write, like, I don't know if you're familiar with Moonshine Christmas. That's one of mine,
Yep.
kind of a anti-Christmas song, that was written during COVID of 2020. So,
You have
but,
two, right?
I've
And
been,
you have
I'm
Double
sorry.
Wide Christmas. You have two Christmas songs, right? The Double Wide Christmas. You have that one and that.
Yes.
Right.
And
Okay.
yeah, I wrote both of those.
Fun.
I wrote both of those. That shows you the redneck side of me. But anyway, I've been fortunate enough, I got to play shows with Dwight Yoakam. I played with Tim McGraw, Brothers Osborne. I've done a few shows, and I've got a big show coming up in a week with Chris Young. He's a pretty good. He's a country artist. Now, my stuff's a little more rock and country. We kind of consider it Southern rock.
Yeah.
But at least I'm getting out there, getting to present this live music, this original music in a live setting, which is really good. I enjoy doing that.
Well, you have a good sound, and it's really interesting is to go back and knowing the old stuff, and then listening to your new stuff recently, because I was curious, probably like most people are. I'm like, well, what's he doing now? I mean, he's got quite a voice in this guy. Just couldn't just go away. I mean, he's a singer. So hearing you, then listening to that music, then going back and hearing the old stuff, and hearing the crossover or the similarities, and I can hear some of the old, your new, I can hear it now. Before it didn't stick out as much to me before.
Yeah.
Your voice. But there are similarities because it still rocks. There still is the rock and roll presentation. There is a way of, sometimes the lyrics, I think you say whiskey bottles is in the old stuff and the new stuff. You still kind of have the visual lifestyle references in some of your songs. It's a visual thing. There's still some rock riffs, or whether Southern rock or metal rock, it doesn't really matter. It's still riffy, and it's still jamming. You know what I mean? Because, it's still a show, which is,
I didn't want to go traditional country. I wanted to have that rock edge. That is definitely something that is on purpose. I wanted it to be guitar heavy, you know, and it was real important for me for it to have that edge, you know. Seems like country music is, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of drum machines. There's a lot of acoustic with a lot of space. And I decided, you know what? Back when I was in the Wildboyz, I tried to do what everybody was doing.
Yep.
Let's try to do something that nobody's doing right now. You know, let's try that route. So I kind of identify my stuff a little bit more with the Southern rock than I do country. You know, definitely with that, like you say, that guitar riff.
I think it gives you more flexibility. Like you can play with country musicians, or you can play with rock bands or Southern rock bands. I think it gives you like, you know, this you know, 3 different styles you can kind of open for. Because if you got electric guitars,
right,
Southern electric guitars and blues, then it kind of go into the Zeppelin audience. So because they got a lot of folk country, depends on what song going on with them, and you can kind of go. So I mean, you shouldn't be locked down, you know. And
right.
when did you decide to stick your really dedicate, like a couple of years ago, right before COVID? Because you only have like an album or 2 out, as I was looking, right, worth of stuff out.
Right. Well, I did put out a first country album I wrote with a buddy of mine that really didn't identify with what I was looking to do. There's a lot of good songs on that album. It's called Dust and Smoke, and it's not really, it was really not what I wanted to do. I may revamp some of those songs in the future, but Keeping the Country Alive EP, this new one that I've got out called We're All About That, which I haven't started promoting yet. I figured I'd wait until the holidays. We'll start doing videos for a couple of those songs. There's one particular song on that EP that I really think has a good shot, and that's Southern Tears, which was written by a songwriter that works with Johnny Van Zant. He reached out to me. I don't know if you heard that cover that I did with my band called Don't Misunderstand Me, a little bit more rock song. He reached out to me and said, man, I've got a song that I really think that you should listen to, and I think you should do it. And of course, I'm thinking, you know, I've got 50, 60 songs, you know, already recorded, ready for albums, you know. And I was like, oh, all right, well, yeah, send it to me. I got to tell you, man, first couple of bars, I was in, you know. So I really have high expectations for that song. And I hope when it comes time to promote that song, I do it right. There is talk of doing a video with Skynyrd on that song. Some of the members, we'll see if that happens or not, but I've spoken to Johnny Van Zant in a roundabout way, and when the demo was sent to me, Johnny was singing on it. So, yeah, so he's heard it, and I'm kind of hoping that will come about, but you never know. You never know. Skynyrd's been out on the road for months, you know, and I think they're finally on a break right now. So I'm hoping once the holiday's over, maybe we can do something with that. But if not, I still want to move forward with the song because I think Southern Tears has just got a real good shot, you know. Yeah. But that little EP is that little EP is kind of rocking. It's kind of rocking, you know. Yeah. Have you heard it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's the thing. I think like there's a good crossover in the audience, and that was saying earlier. I think it's very much as we age on. You know what I'm saying? We still like the old stuff, but the new stuff you kind of change your taste, and I think it's a perfect blend, really, for a lot of the fans. You know.
I think so too. I think so. I think for people that I think people are looking for something. You know, I think people are looking for something. Maybe the rock audience is looking for something because there's not really a lot being presented right now in that genre that might appeal to them. So we'll see. You know, whatever happens with me, you know, I'm having a great time doing it. You know, I mean, I'm working with some of the best musicians in Nashville, and just really enjoying what I'm doing. The band I've got's really rocking here in California. So I'm just having a good time. I
Well,
mean, that's really
that's one of the best things about it. And it's weird. I think like there's a resurgence from bands from that time, so there is an appreciation. So there is an audience there, kind of already built in. Some of
yeah,
those bands are not.
yeah,
If you make an album nowadays, it's not so much with the money. I mean, you make it from the label, small label per album or whatever. It's not the same. So a lot of album making now is for the love of it. You know, so it's singles, and singles usually go to the
absolutely.
younger audience. Unless you can get on a soundtrack or a game or something with it, then it's the best. Then it's good money there. You know what I mean? So if you can tag on to something, or you can get on a video,
Right.
get Skinner, whether it's Johnny or get Ricky or some of those guys on it, you know, just to help cross over to introduce you to that audience, little extra push would be helpful.
I
Um,
was hoping, yeah, I was kind of hoping maybe to get to do some shows with them. I don't know if they're gonna be packing it up, but I see Ricky's doing his own thing right now. Ricky's got his own little band going. So I've met Ricky before, really
yeah,
cool dude. Love those guys. Very, very inspirational to me. That it gets to be
right.
real expensive, but it's like I tell my wife. She she's so supportive, and she understands that this is just something about it's just something about a musician that the music part never goes away. It's really hard to let it go. We almost got to have that outlet to get it out.
Yep.
So, she's really understanding. And, I go to different places. I did some videos in Alabama. I've still got a place in Alabama that I can go to. It's some family land. It's like a farm where my grandmother lived, and I own that, so I still go out there and I shoot videos. So, I'm just having a good time, man. That's what it's come down to for me right now. Is I'm not, if fame and fortune doesn't come upon me, no big deal. I'm okay, just as long as I can still make good music and have people like you appreciate it. I
Yeah.
feel like, again, I feel like there's a group of people out there that are getting kind of ignored as an audience that want some music that some of these newer, bigger artists aren't putting out. It's a different world. You know,
Well,
so
economy wise
I
too,
just
though. I
enjoy
mean,
it, man.
the economy wise, like, so like when you were in Wildboyz, and I was this perhaps same age, and you either didn't have money, you had no money if you had to go to the shows or get the music, or you had disposable income. It wasn't like you, if you had money, you weren't like, oh, this goes for my mortgage. And then in your 20s and 30s and stuff, you start having
Right.
kids and jobs, and going to shows isn't as important. Or I really think I do an album by that band, but I got this going on. I'll just listen to the radio. Now all of our kids are near the end of school, or you're more financially secure. You have a little bit more of that expendable money again now. That's why these M3 concerts, these rock
Yeah.
things, and all these bands are able to go out and do these flyout gigs and making some money on a flyout gig. Fantastic, because that
Right.
group is
Right.
out there now with some money now to put back into the bands and to support them again. So there is an audience with money out there to support this kind of music. You know, it's just getting to the right people and getting on the right
I feel
stages.
that's right. That you hit it right on the head. Trying to get it out there. Of course, we've
Yeah.
got Facebook, Instagram, all that social media, TikTok. I try to. I'm a little heavy. I'm heavier on Facebook than I am everything else, but I'm on the gram and I'm on TikTok. I try
Yeah.
to get stuff out there, but it seems like the majority of my audience is on Facebook and Instagram. So
I think it's
that's what I
ages, you know what I
really.
mean? And
Yeah.
now it's like Facebook is almost, I mean, older, and then Instagram is more towards the older and middle, and then like TikTok is younger. I almost feel like it's starting to age kind of weird myself posting for stuff. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I think it's way. I think also think videos is the way because it keeps it out there, and you get revenue because people are streaming. Like I think I'm a big supporter. I've started doing lyric videos for people because I think it's a great way to keep the music going. Because even if people at their desk at work listening to YouTube and they put on the stream your album off of YouTube, you're still streaming you have copyright from revenue from there at least. You know what I'm saying? But regardless of who does it,
Absolutely.
it's still another platform people are listening to. There's YouTube. YouTube has their own radio or music channel, so it's right there. You know,
Yeah.
I just tried that recently, so that's why I've been trying that. And your stuff's on there. I can just listen to everything on there, and it streams right
Well,
from there.
that's
You
cool
know,
that you do the lyric videos. I like that. I like that. We'll
yeah.
have
I
to
just
talk.
start. Yeah, we will. We will. I just started doing that.
When we, before we were Wildboyz, we were Dorian Gray, and
Yeah.
we were out on that strip every weekend, man. Every Friday, every Saturday, we were out there doing the promotion thing, doing what those old school bands did, like
Yeah.
Poison, and handing out flyers, talking to people, mainly girls, but
Well, it feels
anyway,
like you came.
but
Well, it feels
yeah,
like you guys
that,
came
that was
in.
ter- that was terrible about Steve.
Well, but you guys came in. It feels like Poison did their thing. It feels like Poison kind of came in, like Van Halen, and then a bunch of other bands. But then I'm talking about like bands that are really into the party thing. And then like it was like Poison, and then when Poison left, I guess kind of Warrant kind of filled it. And then Warrant left, you guys kind of came in and filled that spot. It's like, you know what I mean? Like everyone was in line towards the end. You guys just happened to be the last in line before the party ended. You know what I mean? You got a couple songs on the dance floor. And they're like,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
nice on. Party's over.
it, it was kind of sad to see that era come to an end, man. I mean, you talk about just having a good time, playing music and having a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't go to college. I dropped out of college to move to California. And of course, my mom and dad hated the idea, but the first time that I went to Sunset Strip, I went to the Roxy, and I was 19 years old. I just moved out from Alabama. And do you remember a band called Odin?
Yep.
You ever heard of Odin?
Oh yeah. Yep.
I was neighbors to Odin. I lived with a bunch of guys in
Well, they're
Burbank, and we were
notorious for the metal
neighbors.
years, right? The metal years. Poor guy
Yeah,
was
yeah,
notorious for that scene. He never lived down.
absolutely. And just FYI, they were playing, and Randy O blew my doors off, man.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching him going, I'm this kid from Alabama. I'm like, man, I am out of my league. I mean, that place was lit up. Just FYI, Randy O is how I turned into Willie D.
Oh,
I
really?
like that idea of him having that. Yeah, exactly. So
That's
I
really
made a
cool.
decision right about that I was going to go from, I never went by my last name. It was always too hard. I always went by Willie D. And that was the moment that I decided to do that. And I still kind of follow Randy a little bit. He moved to Tennessee, and I kind of follow him a little bit on YouTube. And he puts out a video every once in a
Does he?
while.
I'll have to check him out.
uh,
Did you ever friend him? Contact him like at any time?
you know, we were friends, but I don't know if he would remember. But
Right.
we're talking something that happened.
Well, I just felt like
What?
you knowing him and talking to him and being on the scene, like, hey, I dig your influence, like just to talk to him and stuff. I'm not saying,
Yeah.
you're stalking
You
him or
know who
anything.
I was more friends with the Duncan brothers, Jeff and Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, I partied with those guys as little partying as I did, but at 19, 20 years old. But yeah, I was real good friends with Jeff and Sean. They were living in Burbank, right down the street a little bit, and we used to kind of party together. I remember the first party that we had in Burbank. We had played a show at the country club. And like I said, I was 19, 20 years old, and Armored Saint is in my living room, and that was like, whoa, that was really cool, to see Armored Saint. So anyway, I've got a million stories like that, but those were fun times, man. Really good times.
Well, those are great. I thank you for sharing some of them, and you'll be back again. We have more music.
Yeah.
We'll have you back again
Absolutely.
in 2024. But I wanted to have you on. I want people to check you out, support your EP, check out your
Thank you.
Christmas songs, your ENT Christmas songs. A lot of support of the blue of Pabst in your videos there. So I mean, it's fun. It's fun music. I think it's a good transition for people. You know, it's happy. It's happy. It's, you know, it takes you back to just being enjoying music, enjoying what you're doing, having fun, enjoying family.
Thank you.
You know, sometimes you don't need brain surgery in your songs. You just need to smile and tap your feet because it feels good to smile. There's nothing wrong with just rock and roll making you smile.
Absolutely.
You know, you can have some other stuff too if you're in the mood for it. I don't always feel like being heavy duty. Sometimes I just want to tap my feet, have a drink, you know, and hear a good
Right.
riff.
Right.
So people, check them out. There are the links underneath it. Got a lot of music coming out. That's the way to go. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.